I'm Jeff St. James, host of Ask a Brother podcast, and you're watching The Ladies' Table. Every week, women from different backgrounds, different experiences, and different walks of life come together for an honest conversation. Some perspectives will challenge you.
Trying to call straight black men to the table about masculinity when yours is compromised.
Some will make you laugh.
Well, why would a man want a woman that her claim to fame is knowing how to fight? He don't want to fight you. Come on now.
Some might change the way you think.
Life is about trade-offs. There's only two options. If you choose one way, you're probably not going to get the other way.
This is The Ladies' Table.
Because, yep, girl power.
We don't need no man.
Ooh, don't say that. Don't say that. We don't do that. We love our men.
It's like enraged new wave feminist is like the new hot thing. Now, why is that happening? Well, it's happening because women are miserable. They're unhappy, and rather than looking inward and saying, why am I unhappy? They are blaming outward. So this is men's fault. This is injustice, patriarchy. This is all the words, right? Misogyny, you did me dirty. It's all that. Instead of saying, am I unhappy because I put a ton of pressure on myself to live this boss babe life? Am I unhappy because now I have to like pay my own bills and work like a dog and keep up with a man in a man's world, as you so claim? And, you know, do all of these things that I don't really want to do, right? And just completely reject my femininity because I need like a full-on testosterone burst in order to survive in this corporate warfare.
I know I'm not alone in this. I think I'm just the one willing to say it. But as a 35-year-old woman, I'm like pretty much over my strong, independent, boss-ass, badass bitch era. Like, I would love for someone to just sweep me off my feet and say, quit your job. Here's my credit card. Here's the keys to a brand new car. I'm just taking care of everything. Like, I need dependence on another human at this point in my life. Like, I'm really proud of myself. Like, pat on the back. You did it. You did it for a long time, girl. But like, I'm tired.
Sex has dropped to the barrel bottom price of one sometimes not well-worded text. You up? And so women are frustrated because they want men to give more and be more committed, but the price of sex has dropped so low. And they're enjoying sex. When I hear women say, but what about my needs? I'm always like, your sexual needs are very different from a guy's. And if you adopting a male model of anything is not female freedom. So I always tell women, let's say there's a bumper crop of tomatoes one year, and the tomatoes drop to 2 cents a head. I promise you, there is still a market for an organic, artisan-grown, heirloom tomato that's $2 a head. Which tomato are you?
Eddie Long is this? She went from a P-star to a pastor? From OnlyFans to Holy Bread? Is this another one of y'all's sexual liberation scams? That baptism water can't wash away those bodies, ma'am. Hello, ma'am. I'm all for people changing their lives for the good, but this is just insane. What kind of this church is this?
That I don't do, and that is hang out with women who complain about men, and especially low-frequency men. If you are in a dynamic where you don't get treated right, we cannot hang with each other, because my focus has to go to up-leveling my life, my beauty, making money, traveling, expanding, evolving, and hanging around men that treat you like shit and then talking about that or complaining about that. That is very, very low frequency, and that is just not a thing that
I remember Amber Rose slut walk in LA. Well, this is what she had to say years later.
Do you think sometimes women actually try to get pregnant from men?
Yes. Yes.
That's a real thing?
Yes.
You've had girlfriends say, oh, I've had
girlfriends lie about abortions to get money, to act like they're pregnant. Yes. It's disgusting. This is why I stopped my slut walk, by the way.
Yeah.
This is why I'm no longer a feminist. Okay. Because I saw the dark side of what women can do. And I'm sitting here feeling slighted by men.
Right.
And then I'm fighting for equality.
Right.
And I'm like, the only equality is that you Either. You bitches are crazy. Y'all are really, you guys are extorting men, lying about pregnancies, saying you're on birth control when you're not to trap them. I mean, not to sound vulgar, but if a man comes inside of you and you say that you're on birth control, he trusts you.
Right.
That you would trap him like that.
How a well-known hoe in the industry changed her mindset. She's no longer a feminist and she stopped the slut walk.
Well. Welcome everyone that's currently watching from whatever their respective platforms they're watching from. Thank you to everybody that's a faithful watcher and listener to the Ladies Table panel discussions that we've been doing every week. My name is Jeff St. James. I'm the host of this panel. I want to introduce all of our ladies real quick and kind of jump into today's topic, which is, are women starting to turn on feminism? So real quick, we have none other than Anita Stallmeyer, from the founder of the Better Love Movement. We have Dr. Matthew Michelle, Esquire.
That's right.
We have Miss Maggie, the substitute teacher. And last but not least, we have Miss Crimson Cure. So everybody, if you're currently watching, all that we ask is that you comment in the chat, whether you put a 1 in the chat just to let us know you're in the building, or feel free to type in where you're watching from. As well as make sure you're following and subscribe to all of our respective channels. And last but not least, if you have a comment or question that you would like for us to acknowledge and respond to while we run this live, we'll make sure not to miss it. Feel free to hit that super chat button. And I do see one already. The Cooketh. Thank you for the $5. He says, evening, y'all. Good topic of discussion today. I do hope women come full circle to a model in the way of life that looks like the dreaded patriarchal 1950s. Listen, I'm gonna just kind of throw it out there and see who wants to start first, whether it's Amber Rose, the lady crying in the car. Is there a segment of women? Because maybe a few weeks ago, ladies, I remember Maggie corrected me on this and a couple others. Crimson, everybody was like, listen, Jeff, it's over. There's no hope. It's a wrap. I don't know. I'm starting to notice a little shifting where I'm noticing a line of delineation where there seems to be a rumblings where some women are starting to become more expressive, of starting to distance themselves from feminism. So what y'all think?
I wasn't here that week, but I'm gonna tell you, it's still the same. They ain't changing. I don't care. No, it is what it is. Okay, you saw 1 or 2. No. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, what y'all think?
I think the men have completely checked out. So that to me is going to be the real struggle, is to bring the men back. I think even if the women do a 180, it's bringing the men back. I think the men are completely checked out.
What about you, Crimson and Maggie?
There's always been a segment of women who didn't want it in the first place. So it is more likely that those women are the ones who are just being more vocal about it, with exceptions such as Miss Amber Rose, who was all gung-ho for everything until she realized what was going on. But the thing about Amber and women like Amber, right, is that the pathway that they chose to live allowed them to see the dark side of both men and women's like nature, especially their sexual nature. And they get to a point, women like her get to a point where none of those things work anymore. The so-called benefit is not benefiting no more. And that drops the rose-colored glasses that they were seeing things through in the first place. So I'll be believing in women when they talk about certain things, because they have witnessed certain things. They're not all lying about everything that they have witnessed or experienced. It's just that they are tainted, and it's a lot of twistedness with them. They don't operate in righteousness, so therefore they see all of that stuff is sort of convoluted for them. You know what I'm saying? I can speak on that more, but just to sort of land quickly, I just think that there's more of a space for women who never really did deal with feminism like that, just to be a little bit more vocal about it.
And what about you, Maggie?
I think it's lip service, and I think it's too little too late. It's true. I mean, again, as women, we have to understand the nature of men. Men do not care what we say in the witching hour. They care what we do when we're in our prime. And so women like Amber Rose at her big age of 40 plus, and the woman in the car now saying, I want to just give it all up and have somebody take care of me. No, you don't. Because when you had the leverage to make those decisions, you chose otherwise. So now this is what happens. This is what I mean when I say it's going to get worse before it gets better. And that's great, maybe, that these women are saying it. Hopefully, it will fall on the ears of young women who actually can make a change in their lives. So are they turning away from feminism only because they're wore out? I think if they were still getting the benefit that they thought that would sustain them when they were young, if they were still getting it now, you couldn't tell them anything. But now Amber Rose is another one trying to stay relevant. And yes, she's beautiful, but look where that beauty got her. So no, I don't believe that it's real. They can say it, but it's still not going to get them the outcome that they want, because the men that they want to take them seriously now have been moved on.
Wow, this is so depressing.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. I do agree with it being too little too late in a certain way, right? But at the same time, and this is something that I just got through talking about on my show, these women, they do want that woman with the heavy filter talking about she 35 and just wants somebody. That filter's crazy, by the way. The filter was crazy. That filter was insane. But she want what she say she want. What the problem, like I said before on my show, just because they want it don't mean that they're capable of handling it.
Yeah.
They're still not wife material just because they say they want it. They still would not be, you know, like I said on my show earlier, it's not a switch that you can turn on and off. So she is tired of doing everything. She want a man to come and just take it all off her shoulders and let her woosah. But like I said, the issue is she's still not going to be a different woman. She's not going to be a different woman. She's not going to change her mindset about it. She just want what the next thing that she feel like will benefit her. But she still wants to have a mindset. So she's not capable of being a follower. She want a leader. All of those women do, but they're not capable of being the follower that the leader needs or that the leader would require. So this is why a lot of times they'll get into relationships with those men and can't sustain them because of who they are as women, not because of who the men are, and not because they don't want the relationship. But if you can't do it, then you can't do it. Like I said before, you can't go to school for electrician work and graduate and think you're going to do all the plumbing. It don't work like that.
Yeah.
You went to school for electrician work, beloved. So you can't do plumbing. It's not a switch.
So it sounds like the 3 out of 4 y'all are pretty sure that it's a wrap, and this is just a last ditch Hail Mary. That's funny because I was like, oh, these clips gonna be good. I think they're gonna be like, well, you know, there's some, and y'all basically saying like it's either out of desperation, or in Maggie's case, she's saying you don't even really believe.
No, because honestly, at the end of the day, they always wanted it. Most of them, they were just going along with the sisterhood because they couldn't break away, because then that would get them in trouble, if you ask me. So go along with it, because that's my sister, that's my girl. And that's like, you're wasting your time with this. I've said it many a times before. I'm like, you all are playing a game, because you cannot say that you don't care about these people when all you do is talk about men every day, all the time, every minute. It's like, child, do you have no other hobbies? And unless they start like telling their kids, because I remember Amber Rose saying she was treating her like she got a roundhead kid, son, whatever his name is, with whoever it's with. And she was, I'm gonna teach whatever his name is how to be a feminist. And I was like, girl, what? She actually was saying this. I'm gonna teach my son, he's gonna be a feminist. He's gonna be a feminist. That sounded crazy to begin with. But now you're a conservative, which whatever, and now you don't believe in slut walks, and now you're not a feminist. Girl, you all over the place. Who is even listening to her?
You know what? I'm going to say this. The more and more that I've looked up these clips and seen the size of these channels of women that were saying and promoting what Amber would used to be promoting, it's a lot of women, and their audiences are not small. And the worst part is, I looked at a lot of the cases that forgot her name, the one that does Call Me Daddy. It's like one of the biggest ones. You know, she's having a kid with her husband, and they're constantly, and she's saying like, well, it worked out for me. And I'm like, y'all, I don't know what it is about why there obviously is a huge market for that, even if it's not working out for a lot of ladies personally. But I was peeping and noticing, I wanted to put this up real quick. So basically what I was, you know, and I've been actually hearing about this quite a bit recently, of more and more women, when being asked, you know, if they regret their body count and the amount of men that they gave their bodies to, more and more women are starting to acknowledge it. And in the past, you know, for the longest, I felt like a lot of women wouldn't speak on it. They wouldn't share this. They wouldn't talk about this. And you're supposed to be just proud of all your behaviors in the past, and you can never say you're ashamed of any of it, because if you are, then it almost justifies why people can judge you for it. Do you all think that this may be at all connected to this discussion as it relates to, or maybe some women starting to reevaluate how much they've been believing in this? Because I actually honestly think that this is probably one of the first things. When they start to feel disgusting, when they start to feel hopeless, this is typically what they're actually talking about. They regret many of the men that they gave access to that it didn't work out with long term. And, you know, I know that a lot of them are shown and being taught like, well, you know, that's why we have to hate men. But they still, in and of themselves, I think, are regretting the fact that they gave those men the opportunity in the first place. Because feminism tells them you should only feel happiness or joy about this. This is empowerment. This is empowerment to sleep with as many men as possible. What do you all think? Is this a sign that some women may be reevaluating their role with feminism? What y'all think?
It most certainly is. And one of the things that I found is so interesting about the last 20 years, you know, I've been alive 58 years. So I've seen a lot of things since I was a younger woman. But one thing I think is interesting is in the last 20 years, I would even go so far as maybe tighten it up to the last 10. I've noticed how people are not long-term thinkers anymore. It's like that doesn't exist. People don't believe that tomorrow is going to come, right? They don't believe next week is going to come, or next year, or 10 years, or 15 years. And so there's this epidemic of women that are making decisions for now, right? I just had this conversation with my daughter about her tattoos. I said, you're going to regret 90% of those tattoos. I'm thankful that they're not big tattoos. They're not on her neck or her face or they're all places that she can cover. But I've told her, like, you're going to regret 90% of those tattoos. I have one and I regret it. I have one tattoo that I can cover and I regret it. So they don't realize that with this today thinking, this short-term gratification thinking, they are putting themselves in a box. And 5 years from now, when they want out of that box, they are not able to get out of that box. And it's the lack of long-term satisfied thinking. and I have been saying this for 20 years. You will get old if you are blessed enough to get to my age. I love people making fun of my age. If you're blessed, you'll see 58. But here's the thing. I made good choices. And most of the things I did in my life, I don't regret. I made good choices. It got me a good life, a very satisfying life. So that's what I'm always teaching younger women, especially in the last like 10 years. It's like they don't think they're ever going to get old. It's weird. It's really weird.
What about the rest of y'all?
You know, now that you bring her up, meaning Taraji right now, this is why I know they're not changing, child. We just saw her name, Jennifer Lewis, up here talking about her life. Let me just say her life. Okay.
30 and 50 bodies. What she said? She said something crazy, right?
Exactly. Ma'am, please. And then it was somebody, child, the girl from Baby Boy, I can't think of her name, up there telling Kiki what not to do because you're just telling her. Mm-hmm. I forget her name. Yeah. What not to do, but this is what you want. And it's like, why are y'all talking about this? We don't care, child. So if this is what you're telling these people, do you think they're looking at it like, oh, I don't want to do that? No, they're looking at it like, well, child, well, Nia still look good and whoever still look good. And Jennifer is auntie. Shut up. Just stop. But they keep doing it, including this one too. And you got to keep talking about what happened and how you feel and what you're looking for and sitting down with Keke Palmer. Why are y'all doing this? Can y'all just shut up and let Keke talk to whoever the hell it is she need to talk to? Not that she's a great person to talk to, but whatever. She's young enough that maybe maybe she'll say something profound and somebody might listen to her. And I do agree with Anita. I can't hardly say child, but saying that they don't think long term. I say this all the time. You don't think about down the road. You don't think long term. You don't think about the future. You only think about right now. And then I don't even think they think about tomorrow, to be perfectly honest with you. And then you're out here running off at the mouth, like people who are still losing jobs over the internet. Like y'all are just not getting it. That's what I see anyway.
Here's my thing. It's ending because it has to. We're looking at the end of an era. Things start and then they end. Okay, feminism is not this thing that can never end. It had a beginning, it has an ending, and the reason that it's having an ending is because it was never sustainable to begin with. So things that aren't sustainable anyway are flimsy. It was built on flimsy ideas. It was built on lies. It was built on things that simply were not true, and fostered in with an environment that was also propped up on nothingness and lies that gave the illusion that these things could be what everything that they said they were, that women could move around how they think men move around. Not that they know how men move around, but how they think that they can move around. The environment helped it. Okay. Women have not that I'm against women being able to have income and stuff like that, because women have always worked. Mm-hmm. The women have always worked. So that's not a big thing. That to me, they made a big thing out of that. With the, so you'll be able to work now, and so now you don't need men because you'll be able to go and get an income and this, that, and the third. So all of the things that the lies that were told to women through feminism was simply this: you can go through life unchecked. You can go through life without a lot of accountability and restriction, and everything can be negotiable. Now go, because that's supposed to be empowering. What we're living in, and I said this a couple of years ago, we're living in the failure of feminism. We're living in the ruin of it, because it's been going on long enough for us to see the outcome. You know what I'm saying? 70 years ago, they didn't see the outcome. We live in the outcome. And then, not to mention, a portion of this has been a grift. Every woman that talk feminism and believe it. because they certainly didn't live their life like that. The Beyoncés didn't live their life like that. It's coming out that a lot of these so-called influencers that had male bashing channels and all that kind of stuff engaged and married and living their life like a quote-unquote submissive woman. They grifted y'all. They said, listen, it's a bag. And we can tell these chicks, we could just, perpetuate the foolishness and have them thinking this, that, and the third. But behind closed doors, we're going to go get us a man. We're going to do what he say. We're going to be in these relationships. And all that kind of stuff. Beyonce told everybody that she was an independent woman. She told everybody, all the single ladies, this, that, and the third. She do everything Jay-Z wants. Had them kids, and she done sat back. She in semi-retirement. She is not singing them songs no more. Y'all listen to that. That was it. She didn't listen to that. Beyonce know how to take instruction. She had a father that she took instruction from, and then she come turn around got a man that she takes instructions from men. She told y'all don't do it, and y'all listen to it like idiots. So then y'all ended up miserable, trying to keep up with the Joneses and what feminism told y'all needed to be doing. Y'all ran your bodies through the ringer. Along with that, you ran your mind through the ringer. Half y'all crazy. And you might have got you a couple of dollars, but you regret everything you had to do to get it. So now what? Now you mad.
Crimson, you said something about these influencers. I'm actually going to play a clip that kind of shows this dynamic of what we're talking about. And now what I will acknowledge is I'm starting to see for the first time that I've been paying attention to this stuff for a minute. I'm starting to see more and more women being outraged in the comments and in articles that are being posted about these women doing exactly what you said. They're making money off of sowing discord and pushing. The ultimate feminist is a woman who, I just had it up from the one article from, I think it was Evie, that was like the ultimate woman is one who's transcended womanhood. When she's transcended everything that comes with femininity and womanhood, she apparently is the ultimate freest form of what it means to be a feminist. And of course, she's childless, she husbandless, she's not even in a relationship with a man at all. That's seen as the most liberated, elevated version of what womanhood is, it seems. And it's not shocking, it's unfortunate to see a lot of the ladies who have been building up massive platforms are pushing that. I won't even say behind closed doors, because they still stupid enough where the ladies will post it, show they man, show them having a child with their husband, and hearing her say something different, and you still support her anyway. So I don't feel bad, but I'm starting to see an actual anger in women that are starting to acknowledge, hey, you're lying to us, you're doing this, I just had a clip of the guy that Andrew, I forgot his last name. He was talking about how women who are frozen their eggs never found out the percentage of successful. They felt like because they could freeze their eggs, they can do whatever they want. Mm-hmm. And they don't realize when you don't have the unlimited income that, let's say, Ebony K. Williams does, the outcomes are very, very poor when it comes to the egg survival rate. So real quick, I'm going to check out a couple quick super chats. So everybody, if you're currently still watching, feel free to support our channel, our panel. Just hit that super chat button if you have any questions or comments. Going to start reading them off now as we speak. Clock E HVAC, thank you for the $5. It's going to take a lot to get these men back, whether you are a hyena or a lionesses. Yep, y'all too, ladies. Yeah, and I do think that the worst feminism did a really good job of taking the worst men and painting that picture and telling ladies like this is what men are in general. The unfortunate part is I think the reverse has happened now as well, where more and more men are now starting to reevaluate and see a lot when they're seeing these ladies act like this on social media. Any little sign, any little similar wording, terminology, oh, she's one of them. That's how guys are going to start to view it. And once, and Anita, you said it last year, when I asked you what's the percentage, and you said 80% of women are not suitable for long-term relationships and marriage. And I was kind of shocked at first, but when I got done talking with all of y'all and meeting with about 50 other people, and really getting into the weeds of this, I said, that sounds about right. And that may be conservative because, and again, when this person says what it's going to take to get a lot of men to come back, I think men coming back is not going to include marriage through the state. Because I think that for a lot of men, a lot of women have demonstrated their willingness to leave, their capacity to leave, even potentially easily, or for even fickle reasons. So if I'm gonna be honest with you, I think that even if men that are kind of pulling back and being a lot smarter, they may engage in situationships, just, boyfriend, girlfriend things. They may figure out how many days each week she can cohabitate with him so that it doesn't go against state rules. That, there may be certain things happening that in my mind would now lead us to, I don't see men in mass being like, let's all go get married. I don't see that. I don't see that, honestly. Who else we got? High Tolerance 2500. Thank you for the $9.99. Good evening, Jeff and the ladies. In my opinion, most men have checked out for all the right reasons. Most men are prioritizing self and being more purposeful. One would be a fool entertaining this foolery. Yeah, it's tough. I don't know what y'all think about this. I understand why men are checking out. I'm always skeptical of any ideological conclusion that the only purpose in life is just to exist and, find your own lane or whatever, which is cool and all. But like, we're not here just for ourselves is basically what I'm saying. So what does that look like, whether it's in service to other, having children, building life in community, or even with just one other person? I just don't believe we're meant as human beings on an individual level to only think about ourselves and stay away from everybody else. What y'all think?
Well, somebody in the chat had said a little while ago that the only reason that they're changing is because of the economy, and I agree. So ever since C-19, and these people felt what it feels like to be taken care of, even though it was fake. With you don't have to pay any bills, and then you got all this this free money, and they was out here making Amazon the #1 company in the world, and so now it went away. And now it's like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. That's what I think really it makes this alleged change, which I don't believe. And now that the economy in certain people's eyes is getting worse and worse, and you can't afford the eggs, you can't afford the milk. Oh, well, if I had somebody to help me, then it would be easier. So if you think that you're going to get with one of these men, and then as soon as the economy turns around, because I try to tell people, it ebbs and flows. This is a thing. It happens. It goes up. It goes down. So it's going to change, but they don't know how to navigate, in my opinion, most of these women by themselves with the gas and all those types of things. So now it's like, oh, well, now if I had a man, and I think that personally might be the change. I would agree with whoever said that in the chat. Shout out to you. So once it's over, they're going to go back to this new same old. I don't need you. Who's going to take that chance? Who's going to take that chance?
Wow. And real quick, everybody, if you're currently still watching, if you haven't done so, please make sure that you like and make sure you send it to at least 2, 3, 4, or even 5 people. Now, real quick, Crimson, you had said earlier about these people lying. I wanted us to watch a ridiculous example, but also let's pay attention to the woman's reaction and response to what we're about to watch, and let's see what y'all think.
Some fucking friends that are prudes that are like, you should never kiss on the first date. You're going to give them the wrong impression and they're just going to think you're a whore. Okay, maybe for you, Cassandra, but I'm about to let him in my back door all night. You don't have to do it all night too, but you could. Whatever feels right.
Okay, ladies, please do yourself a favor and do not listen to this absolute garbage of advice. I do not care what this woman, Alex Cooper, says. Sleeping around, letting a man sodomize you, and letting random men touch you in the most intimate parts of your body is not liberating or beneficial.
Ew, get off of me.
In fact, the only woman that's benefiting from this is the host of this show, Alex Cooper. She is profiting off of women who are insecure, women who grew up without a father figure, women who are desperate to be loved, women who are looking for validation, and women who do not yet understand their value and their worth. Ladies, there are consequences to living a life like this. STDs, heartbreak, pregnancy, and if you don't want to keep that baby, add abortion trauma to that list. Ladies, feelings are temporary, they are fleeting, but consequences are not. Please, I beg of you, stop listening to voices like this that are trying to convince you that you are worthless, because you're not. In fact, you were bought at a price by a savior who believed you were worth dying for. So why would you settle for anything less?
And we're going to respond to the second part where she adding the religion part into it, so we can go back to the Peace Star, Jasmine Cashmere, who now became a pastor. We're going to talk about that and what to make. But I want to
a lot of my students who are doing a lot of work around this area, it's not necessarily kind of really extreme content they're seeing, but it's often these kind of more subtle ideas about kind of, you know, like things like most men are trash, most men are of no value to you, only a minority of men are high value. And it's this kind of online trend which is encouraging women to go sober, to detox themselves from heterosexual relationships as a sort of way to self-care, look after oneself, like exit the sort of the hellscape of dating for a period of time or permanently. So it often then gets into this, again, this is the kind of mirroring of the manosphere logic. You know, in the manosphere, they talk a lot about high value women, low value women, and so on. Very dehumanizing language. And this is another interesting thing, that there's an increasing sense that any men who kind of tries to engage with feminism or tries to be an ally is a performative male. And therefore is not really to be trusted. Okay. And so there's like this broader sort of like suspicion of any man who is trying to be left-wing or progressive or feminist, because there's this sense that, well, because men by nature have this sort of evolutionarily determined desire to, you know, impregnate as many women as they can, this is all just part of their strategy and they're therefore not to be trusted. And so therefore it makes it very difficult to have any sense of kind of solidarity in terms of feminism.
All right. So a couple of things happened with those clips, and I'll just rehash it and see what you all think. The first of which is Alex Cooper is a part of the Femisphere, right? So it did exactly what the last lady just did, right? Where this is an alternative version of what's happening in digital spaces, where women are giving women feedback, advice, and strategies on how to engage with the opposite sex. And most of it's strictly, you know, just kind of the worst advice imaginable, usually doesn't lead towards long-term outcomes. And like she said, the first lady that responded and reacted to it, she's now warning the ladies and saying, hey, ladies, like, she's lying to you, she's using you, she's building up her platform, she's making all this money, and she's not even living like that. But then she ran to religion. And the reason why I want to know what you all think about this is, when I look at this on the screen of these former adult actresses, these people, the ladies of the night, the streetwalkers, we're going to eventually have a panel discussion about this whole concept of why a lot of men aren't in church anymore, or operating within the normal structure of religion through the means of going to particular worship spots and spaces. There is a pipeline from women acting crazy, doing crazy, you know, doing the things that they know comes with the territory when it comes to, you know, getting resources and selling the box. And then when they run to religion and faith, this is like they're out. This is considered like if God can forgive them, if the gospel is real, if Jesus died for our sins, you should be able to accept me as I am, and you shouldn't be able to factor in anything that I've done previously. And the lady in the first clip that we just watched, you know, obviously I understand from her personal lens, pointing to and telling them, like, you are worth something, God is good, and all this stuff. For men that are also watching and listening to this stuff, do you all think that this is going to impact men taking women's faith and religion actually seriously? Because if this is the escape valve that kind of washes away all the promiscuous past that these ladies are living, what y'all think about this all three of these clips? What y'all think?
Well, good luck to the lady that was trying to help that first woman. She sounds crazy, that first woman. I've never heard of that lady before. But who's in the church? Who are they looking for in the church? Because it is no man there. It's a bunch of women. So honestly, it sounds like it might be another grift from the Prawn Star, if that's what she's trying to do. I don't know who she is either. Mm-hmm. Everything is a game. It just seems like everything is a game, and it's just playing a a never ending, I'm going to try this and see if it works. I'm going to try this and see if it works. Can you just be normal? Can you just teach your kids to be better than you? Because until they do that, as far as I'm concerned, it's just a game just to try to get what they want, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. What about the rest of y'all?
As a Christian, I don't believe it's my place to try to somehow, quantify a person's faith or religion or belief. That's really between them and God. And the one thing that I tell women is that it shouldn't be played with, right? It's something that if between you and God, if you come to an epiphany or you come to some sort of understanding, yes, based on what I know, God can forgive any and everything, but that's between you and him. That didn't talk about the people down here on earth, right? I'm not Jesus, I'm not God, but what's between you and God? Like, that's who is going to ultimately judge her. So that's what I want women to know. They think that running to the church or getting baptized, or there's a new ritual now that erases your body count, some new, faith ritual that erases your body count. Mm-hmm. And again, that's between you and God, right? I don't believe anybody down here should now say, okay, your body count is back to zero. I think that's silly. Yeah.
Oh man, and listen, not that I'm gonna be reacting to that soon because I just saw that last week for the first time. They're doing these little rituals, pouring water over themselves and shaking over some smoke and everything. I'm like, what do y'all think is going on here? And
glorified Yanni theme.
You said what?
I said that's a glorified Yanni theme. So we're not gonna talk about that part, but I agree with Miss Anita. See, the thing, and I talked about this when I talked about Brittany calling herself playing with being Muslim. Going to God, I ain't got no problem with nobody going to God, because I tell people to go to God. That's why we in the space we in my opinion, because we left God out. So you need to incorporate him back in. However, like Miss Anita said, God can forgive you all day. And since I'm not God, I don't have a say to say, well, you can't be forgiven or you can't change. But your consequences in this world might still be your consequences. That's still there. That's just like a person who unjustly murders somebody. They may go to God and God may forgive them, but you still got to do that time in jail. Mm-hmm. Like, we're not going to let you go. You know what I'm saying? Like, you still doing it, right? So the consequence might be the consequence. Where I have an issue is when it's doing like how Brittany did and doing how a lot of these chicks, like this Jasmine chick, doing what I feel like turn it into a grift or turn it into a performative thing or something that can be perceived to be performative, right? Because most people don't trust pastors to begin with, no matter their past. So that concept of being a pastor in the church is already, people give that a side eye and have been given that a side eye for quite some time. Usually the way that I have seen it play out in real life is that women who have had promiscuous past and all that kind of stuff, if they do find God, they go real silent. Like, you don't hear from them women no more. They don't be in the limelight. Wherever they used to be, whoever they used to talk to, the places they used to go, that they don't do none of that. They drop off the face of the earth as far as the people of their past are concerned. They don't know what happened to that woman. You know what I'm saying? She just go live her life somewhere else. But when you want to stay in the limelight, when you want to keep trying to do this and trying to do that, that is where it seems to be performative to people, to the outsider looking in. And that's where we start giving it a side eye. And this is why people be saying the whole to religion pipeline is a real thing, because you try to go to God, which I don't think most people have a problem with, but then you also are doing this sort of performative thing with it as well. And that's where it gets the side eye and the question mark, and people start being like, we don't really buy that. Just like in Brittany Renner's case, you don't really buy it because she played with it for a while. Now she back, you know what I'm saying, doing whatever she was doing in the first place. So why would you even play that game?
I'm gonna say this real quick because I gotta read these super chats. This is why in 2026, for most men, religion doesn't mean anything when it comes to screening women in America.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm going to be honest, if you grew up in the church, you know what I'm talking about. Pastor kids was the worst. Pastor kids was the worst, right? So all I'm suggesting is this filtering tool that religion used to be, and how it could have potentially helped with maybe being more closer to being able to figure out what potential outcomes are. Nah, it's no longer nearly as important or helpful for knowing whether or not, unfortunately, a woman is actually going to be committed and not be super beholden to secular society and ideology and problematic trending ideas and talking points that could influence your relationship. So it's going to sound bad to say, but like, most dudes that have been around the block, they're not running to, I said it before, I'll say it again. If I want this, if that's going to be the outcome, if that's what I'm going to get, why would I go to a lesser version of that where she ain't even active and ain't even going to do half the stuff she used to do out in the streets? Why don't I just go to the woman that's currently still out there and try to retire her? It doesn't make, like, I would, if her looking good, her being sexual and making me feel good is the goal, and I can't trust these two pools of women because of just the sheer nature of how many of them think this way. Why on God's green earth would I go the religious route where there's now all these new standards, rules, boundaries, and things that I have to wait? So you having trains on you, but I got to take you out 10 times. Excuse me? That's what it looks like. So what I'm basically saying is when you're standing in line at a fast food spot and the three persons up, one person's paying $5 for the meal. Next person behind them is paying $2 for the meal. And then with you, they say $1,000. That's how God see it. So if I'm going to aim for a woman and those are my core things, it makes sense for me to go to King of Diamonds or Lucky's or one of these other establishments that I know nothing about. You might as well just find a beautiful woman there and retire her there. It like, from a guy's lens, the last place that you want to look at now, and especially if a woman has a huge major social media following and you can see the timeline, because some of them say they repent and they're over, but they still got it up and want the likes and the views and everything. If you could see the timeline, the switch, where she ain't been like this since high school, this was a right after college, late 20s, early 30s epiphany. Sorry, ladies, it's great for you and guys, great for you and the sisterhood, and y'all could be a part of the choir. But there's a reason why most men that are there are gay or on the down low. That's just the truth. Gregory, and then Messi, I want you to come in because I know you had something to say. Gregory Scotland, thank you for the $20. Hi, Jeff. Remember, Dr. Tiasan Johnson already has mentioned that more and more men have checked out. Yes, he has. Look, we had a female content creator a few years ago tried to con everyone under the Save the Community mantra. Absolutely. Highway 20 Skinny, thank you for the $2. Jasmine was baptized in the waters of him. Oh my God. Okay. Let me move on. Jesus. Y'all, Dub Will, thank you for the $4.99. Forgiveness and reconciliation aren't the same thing. Absolutely. God may forgive your past. That doesn't mean men have to live with it. That's on you. Absolutely. I agree with that. Sage Talks Biz, thank you for the $2. The Bible is clear. No woman can be a priest. Oh, that's going to ruffle some feathers in certain denominations for sure. Mr. Majid, thank you for the $10. If they could rewind time back to the 20s, they'd be back in the streets all over. I don't believe that born again I'm telling you, what he just said is real. And you want to know the guys who know this for sure, the ones who grew up under religion, the ones who grew up with it, because we saw it all. We saw the pastors knocking down a bunch of the women in the church. We saw them sleeping with all the musicians. I don't want to talk about church conventions now, because when it's out of town church convention, man, let me leave it alone. Let me finish. Mark of Elohim, thank you for the $10. Shame is no longer welcome in modern day churches. Speaking the word literally in the Bible will get you cast out of many churches today. Man, I saw Pearl doing these little interviews outside of churches asking women if they will obey their husbands. And the men and women in the church is coming out and going off on her. All I'm going to say is this is like a person that says they're part of Islam and they're Muslim, but they're eating bacon in front of me. Some things just don't go hand in hand. And I think that this feminism literally does not work. It's not compatible with these patriarchal religions. Now, if you're saying that if you want to revamp it, you want to liberalize it, you can call it something different. But eating bacon and still saying that you're Muslim is literally an oxymoron. And I think that what this brother's saying is there's some merit to it. Last couple, World Changer 23, thank you for the $9.99. I've seen a guy marry a mother of 6. Now they're pastors and promoting their church on Facebook. It's actually really embarrassing for the guy, but he doesn't see it. Who else we got? Growth Talk. Thank you, man. Save yourself, black man. Thank you for the $2. And then last but not least, Edward Samuels. Thank you for the $5. Women in church was a green flag. Now it's a red flag. Now it's a red. I know everybody think this is crazy to say, but a woman that kind of, think of it this way. If a lot of the women who at the end of their luck are now running to the same destination, these are now the women that your girl, if she goes there, is surrounding herself with in community. How many former escorts, prostitutes, sex workers do your girlfriend need to have around her for you to be potentially concerned about what it is they're speaking into your relationship when they're talking to her about your relationship? Just wondering. So it sounds crazy to say, but it's like we don't see this differentiating factor between the world and the church anymore. Because, and again, if you grew up in it, you saw it. You know. So what do y'all think about this whole religion? Oh, real quick, the two more. High tolerance. Thank you again. Most women entering the church doors are in the final form. I see it all firsthand serving on the security team at my church. You don't know if they left after hours or heading to brunch afterwards. And listen, a lot of us did that. So that's why we further know this is the case. And the only way feminism will be gone is with mothers living under a patriarchal home right now, as women can just turn off feminism ideology right now. And then lastly, Mark Cooper, thank you for the $5. Men, now we are going to bring them to submission. I don't know about that, brother. But so again, if women are running to religion, and as Anita and Crimson said, we can't just assume that they don't mean it. They're not serious about changing their life or whatever. What I'm basically saying on my end, and I want y'all to respond to it, is I don't think men are now giving women that are in religions and the covering of religious community the benefit of the doubt anymore. That doesn't mean what it used. That didn't mean what we thought it used to mean growing up.
Right.
Maggie, Anita, what y'all think?
I mean, I agree with you. I mean, I was always taught the scripture about the fruit that the tree bears. That's how you're going to know what type of tree it is. I've always been taught that. And I've never given people a pass who claim to be Christian. That's never meant anything to me. I watch you. I watch what your patterns are. That is who you are. It's not about a label that you slap on yourself. It's about what your everyday walk is and your patterns as a person. So again, I would never sit here and say that, because like I said, my belief tells me that God can save any and everyone, no matter what they've done, no matter what's happened to them. If they give their life, genuinely to God, to Christ, he can save them. But as the gentleman already pointed out in the comments, there will be earthly consequences, right? So if you acquire HIV or AIDS, like, okay, you can run to the church, but there will be earthly consequences for the disease that you now have. That's the part that maybe women need to really hear, that doesn't promise you a husband, that doesn't promise you children, that doesn't promise you respect. That has to be something between you and God. And I agree with Crimson. To me, the women who are sincere, they go off, you never hear about them again. They are living their life in quiet solitude. To me, that speaks volumes. But if you're still out here on the social media streets doing all this stuff, to me, it isn't sincere.
Real quick, Growth Talk, and then the others, Maggie, you can jump back in. Growth Talk, thank you for the $5. Pulpit pimping, pastors, deacons. My uncle was a preacher. He was married 8 times. My God. Use of the Bible made it easy for him, his words, and then clock H back again. Thank you for the 5. I'm making a video, and it will be up within the next week, saying why women, especially FBA women, are cooked, and the fall of feminism is one of them. Maggie, what were you about to say?
I don't believe any of it. And here's why. Again, for me, it's more attention-seeking behavior. How do you go from using your body for income to now being in a place of leadership? And yes, the scripture says, ye shall know them by their fruit. But I agree with Ms. Crimson. I think if you're really sincere, there is repentance, and then there is leadership. And the Bible even says leaders are going to be held, pastors are supposed to be held to a higher standard. So if you have that background, and I saw somebody in the chat saying, well, what about the pastor who used to be a drug dealer? Can you reform? Absolutely. But then maybe you should be in prison ministry after some time of showing a real commitment to a change of life. Not just, I woke up one day, slapped on a collar, put on a shawl, and now you're supposed to take me seriously. I don't believe any of it. And I think it's really a disservice. And I agree, if you have to scream to the rooftop what your faith is, that means you're not walking it out, whatever it is. I should be able to know you by how you conduct yourself. So no, I don't believe this at all. I think it's despicable. And I think there's going to be an even bigger consequence for her for playing with it like this. I also want to go back to what you mentioned earlier in the previous prompt about the body count. And I have said this before. This is the flaw and the fallacy of feminism. And the reason why women are now wishing that they could rinse their past away is because feminism, not only, maybe in the beginning it wanted equality, but you had a comment there about how women were supposed to transcend men. You were supposed to be better than men. We were supposed to outshine them in every way. But it negates the fact that we have a natural biology that is not male. And it is not natural for a woman to give herself away freely and not want a bond from that. I don't care what you say. All of these women who are doing that, they want that person to like them back. So I think that, the feminism that has now said, okay, you can carry yourself like a man, you can have all of these hookups and, do all these things with your body. A man can have sex with you and not even know not even remember your name. That is how men are wired. And this is why, yes, I'm going to push back on the feminism. It has hurt us because we think we can compete with men as men, when our femininity is our superpower, because that's the one thing that men don't have. And as long as we try to pretend like we are men, we are going to lose every time. It's like a kid playing dress up. Nobody takes you seriously, but now you have the consequences that you're going to have to deal with for life.
I'm gonna say this real quick before and then Crimson, come on in. If you're a pastor, I can see what they do in the bedroom. Done deal. It's a done deal where I it's not even a possibility, right? So and I'll argue that the way we view that in terms of people in leadership positions, where most people be like, if I can see something like that with an easy Google search, you're completely disqualified for me in terms of being able to be, and you could do a lot of forms of ministry, but you're not going to be a pastor over men, right? That's one. Most guys think like that when it comes to women, when it comes to long-term commitment and being public in relationships anyway. So it's not just we have that standard when it comes to leadership positions. Oh, I'm saved. I'm a woman of God now. We don't just not trust the pastor in that role. We know how far we can deal with a woman like that. If I can see everything behind closed doors on social media on your respective links, or I just got paid $3.99 or $4.99 and I can still access it now, you're disqualified. And again, what's the caliber of men that are thinking and telling you that that's fine? What's the caveat of what's going to come with a guy that's telling you it's cool? Is he telling you it's cool because he has a free flowing, he doesn't really have standards, he wants a very open relationship? Does he not have self-respect for himself? You ain't gonna have respect for him. So what's the trade-off going to be when the men that are signing up, not just to date these women, by the way, to publicly be attached to them and potentially even marry many of them? Crimson, what you think?
I was just gonna chime in with what Maggie was talking about. And I said this in my book, I've said this multiple times. One of the most basic reasons why feminism was unsustainable to begin with is unsustainable now, no matter who wants to profess to be believing in it or not, is because feminism actually stripped women of womanhood and femininity. It erased it. And it didn't replace it with anything. They tried to call itself replacing it with manhood under the guise of we're all people, so it's personhood, to erase the differences that men and women naturally have, right? So it stripped women of everything that's feminine about a woman, to the point where many feminists cannot even describe what a woman is. They cannot give you the definition of what women are, what women do, the purpose of women, or any of that. When you lose your purpose, you lose your value and your sense of self and identity. And that is why you see so many women who subscribe to this mindset so lost all the time. Because how can you not be lost when you don't have an identity, when you don't have a sense of self, when you can't even define why you're here? If you can't say why women even exist, then women have no intrinsic value at all, not as humans, not as anything else. Right. And then at the same time, detesting that women should only be whittled down to our vaginas and things of that nature. That you understand what I'm saying? So it hit us, it hit women on both ends. This is why it's not sustainable, because not only was it built upon a biological and psychological lie, right, but the environment changing has a lot to do with it, because feminism is a luxury, an unfortunate luxury idea. Because once society goes back down to its base form, femininity goes. When the first thing that happened when Ukraine got in that war was what?
Women leaving, women and children. First
and
ones
all
out.
all that rainbow stuff was done with. You trying to be a trend? Do you have an XY chromosome? Well, get on over here with this AK. That's what you gotta do. We don't even want to deal with that. So it's flimsy to begin with. And one other thing to talk about the pastorhood and all of that kind of stuff, and her being a pastor. First of all, she's not qualified for many reasons. Number one, for being a woman, because see, in Islam, a woman is not an imam either. They don't hold that position, period, no matter who she is. Number two, you have spent your whole childhood and adult life broken. You got more learning to do than teaching. What you teaching somebody? Who you telling?
She could listen. She could teach the lady. Hold on, she could teach the ladies in the church a whole lot. Crimson, hold on now. She can
Not
teach you some
not
things.
nothing they can't Google. She ain't, so what she teaching? She ain't got no special information. That's on Pornhub. Yeah, I said it. So she still ain't got no special information even there. Okay, so she need to sit down in the back, hush her mouth, and keep her head in a Bible, a book, or something like that, and keep in prayer. That's what she needs to do, so that she can actually live the thing that she claimed she trying to believe in, so she can actually get the salvation from God that she supposedly is seeking, supposedly, in our land.
Okay. Messi, you have any final thoughts before I play my final clip to kind of close us out?
Again, obviously that woman you said is a prawn star, and a lot of religious persons and people use that as a grift, unfortunately. So the odds are, in my opinion, and I don't know from a can of paint, that that's probably allegedly where that's going. But from earlier when you all were talking about the religion, and you're saying if somebody is going to turn religious and, be Christian, they do it on the low and they just, move forward with life. I don't disagree. But there's too many that are coming onto this here internet and going on to tonight's conversation, going on to Kendra Gilliam's and talking about how religious they are and how much they love the Lord. And now men got to do this, that, the third, the fourth, and the fifth. This is why I say most of it is crap. Now, maybe most of them are quiet and I just didn't see them. But for all these people, it's just another way to try to get back at the same people that they've been pushing away for all these years. And I honestly think that for Black people, I'm sorry to have to, separate it, they still acting wild and crazy. Women anyway, still saying the most egregious of things. I just did a video where the famous girl from TikTok is saying that Black men are big up in saying they would marry Daphne Joy. I said, who said that? Who? Who? Tell me who? I ain't seen one person. You're making Daphne Joy above Black women. Where? When? They just be saying stuff. She's older. So that's why I'm like, if you're not going to start teaching or say stuff against it to the younger people, I don't believe you. I don't believe in none of them. Because what they say out their mouth and what they're showing, what they're doing is completely opposite to what they're allegedly supposed to be doing, because they're turning themselves around, going to the Lord, not being a slut, whatever the thing is.
All right. So, everybody, if you're currently still watching, if you haven't done so, we're about to wrap things up here. So please make sure that you're subscribed to everybody that you see on the screen. Make sure you like this and make sure y'all hype these videos up. We be having to remind y'all a little bit too much by hyping up these videos. Make sure y'all send it to at least 1, 2, 3, or even 4 people if you haven't. So for those who are currently watching, I'm going to play a brief clip for us to close out when it comes to what the potential end game is probably going to be as a result of feminism doing what it's been currently doing in our particular nation. But somebody gave me a banger super chat. So let me see this real quick. Hosea 4:6. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge, because thou hast rejected knowledge. I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me, seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy God, and I will also forget thy children. Brother, appreciate you, Mark of Elohim, for the $50 banger for sure. Yeah, man, it's very interesting to see. Again, everything that's wrong in society isn't feminism or women's fault. The idea that it has no significant consequence is crazy to say, but I do believe that it's consequential enough to where a lot of bloodlines are probably not going to make it past this generation related to this very issue. So I'm going to play this clip and then we're going to close things out.
Will lead to women losing the rights they just fought for. Not all women, but a fair size of the female diaspora, who are third wave feminists, actively hate men and publicly berate about it, publicly celebrate at the detriment of men, at the detriment of the civilization and the species. Feminists do not seem to have the ability to perceive that centering your entire identity around hating men and normalizing the hatred of men en masse, so relying entirely on men to protect you and hold up the civilization from a structural and fundamental view, a losing battle. This public display of continuous will do one of four things. It could force men who take power to then take women's rights away, because the civilization is literally being actively destroyed from an immigration perspective, from a single issue only voter policy perspective, from a productivity perspective, and from a general sociability perspective. Or the women will continue to gain power and continue to let in more and more foreigners who eventually will take power for themselves, and then they will establish the same laws in the areas that they came from, which is, removing women from power, taking it from themselves, and then ultimately the women will be once again the bottom of the hierarchy, just like they did. Or the women become so dissatisfied with the current civilization, women end up getting fed up and leaving, taking their third wave feminism somewhere else in the world, only to quickly find out that literally nowhere else on planet Earth you want third wave feminist women. And the patriarchy is actually much stronger. China, the Middle East, Africa, India, none of those places are screaming to have hordes of third wave feminist women in their politics. And lastly, women stay and continue to push policies only prioritizing themselves, not thinking about the country at large, letting in more and more and more immigrants, continuing to consolidate resources, power, and smashing the patriarchy, ironically making us weak to a foreign invasion which takes over and removes women from power once again. Feminism.
Yeah, so shout out to that brother. I'm actually hoping to have him on pretty soon for a very lively discussion this month. That's going to be the end result. So the more that I think feminism has gained its traction and power, I think the more it'll eventually accelerate its own demise. And I think we're already starting to see it, where because of their view on being antinatalism, reproduction, babies, families, and the whole nine, their ability to reproduce is almost strictly like ideological. It like there's no biological component to feminism. And I think that a lot of ladies are going to wake up to the harsh reality that what you all have been warning about. What I'm basically saying is religion's not going to save a lot of these ladies. Religion's not going to, Islam is not going to save a lot of y'all. Christianity's not going to save a lot of y'all, because the men are waking up and realizing, oh, snap. So before was the friend zone. Let me set these guys to the side. Then it was the, he's not my type. We're learning all the keyword, all the words, all the terminology, everything that makes it known that she's settling for you, or she's hoping that you're foolish enough to bail her out of her bad decisions in the end. Y'all, I hate to break it to you. If he's seen your social media already, he already knows whether he would ever marry you or not. I'm telling you right now, ladies. So you can do the remix if you want to. You got to find a guy that don't know your history or background. So real quick, let me read these two chats, and then H Lady can kind of close us out with their final thoughts on if indeed we're going to have any type of potential renaissance. Because, like the gentleman just said in the video, as more and more things unfold, I think a lot of women are going to start to become more desperate and realize that they don't like the outcomes that they're getting. And they may mean y'all going to be sharing some men. That may mean you're going to have to get with men that's a little taller, shorter, broker than you would like. But I wouldn't be shocked that everybody's not going to do the whole let's make it to 80 and just be hanging out with my girlfriends and Valentine's Day every year thing. I don't think every lady's going to be built for that. And I think a lot of ladies are going to abandon ship when they think it's favorable to do so. Ish talking. Thank you for the $4.99. Hold up. Wait. When Messi passed the bar, Lord help your people. Great discussion, Jeff. Salute to the panel as usual. Slim Daddy, thank you for the $2. They can't read. Now you want them to read the word. Full drinking a half. Thank you for the $50 banger as well. And okay, y'all. We may have to do ladies panel a couple more times this week. Hold on, BLJ. Thank you for the $150. Shout out to Maggie. Thank you for hosting me for your graduation event. Hey, okay. And last but not least, Quality Guy 73. Thank you for the $2. It will be a colony of women living together, and they're gonna get sick of each other ish. Because every woman that's had women as roommates, they don't stay roommates in perpetuity 90% of the time. So all of y'all, let's do Anita, Massey, Maggie, and then Crimson to close us out. Final thoughts to kind of close us out.
I look forward to, I don't know what's going to happen, right? And I don't know if it's going to happen in my lifetime. But I do look forward to some things changing. I think even when Roe versus Wade was, reversed, it's still not enough change for me. And I would like to see the 19th Amendment repealed. I already don't vote. I did not vote in the last two elections. And I think that, if you are married, if there is a head of your household and you're married, that you get one vote per household. And, everything else, we see what women tend to vote for. And they don't vote. This is what frustrates me. They're not voting for what's important for all Americans. Mm-hmm. That is what frustrates me the most. Mm-hmm. They're voting for stuff like abortion. I'm like, okay, yeah, that might benefit some kids out there who don't want kids, that they've gone out and created. But most of the things that they're voting for, they don't benefit all Americans. So that's what frustrates me terribly. So, I'm more conservative than a little bit, but I'm curious to see where this goes in the next 10 years. I don't know if it's, like I said, if it's going to happen in my lifetime, but it'll be an interesting show.
And real quick message before you come in, full drink and a half, $10. Y'all ever seen a woman's bathroom? None said. Generals, y'all know the drill, full press. Oh man, if y'all dealing with women who don't clean up after yourselves, man, I don't know what to tell you, gentlemen. Y'all got to aim a little bit higher, brother. But go ahead, Messi.
Oh my goodness. Shout out to my besties. They are a mess. Thank you all for all of your support. I'm a more of a pessimist, in case anyone didn't see that, but I'm listening to these people. I listen to what they say. Everything, in my opinion, seems to be a play to try to get to something. All these people really have to do is just be normal, if they know what that even means. Instead of trying to revert to this and try this and fool this, and because as soon as you start talking, people are going to know who you are. You can say I'm religious. You can say I'm not a whore anymore. You can say all these things, but once you start talking, that's really going to be the indicator of who you really are. So when they say those things, then they go up in front, like on tonight's conversation, and say, yeah, I'm a Christian now and I'm not having sex. And you got to do this, and this. Well, the this, and this is the problem to, negate the rest of that, because you're still telling someone what to do. And like Anita said, all these people, like with the voting, you showed a picture of a woman. I always say that woman got green hair, pink hair, orange hair. Child, I'm not listening to people that got different hair colors. I don't know why y'all put these people out here in front of normal people like us, thinking that we're going to listen to them. Nose rings, all this stuff. These people are crazy. So if anybody thinks that they're going to change that quickly and start to be normal, and these people, at least these people in this chat over here, are going to go marry them, they're not. They're never going to take them seriously. And I don't take them seriously either. But that's all I got to say.
What about you, Maggie?
Welcome to the kicks of a dying horse, like one of my biggest sponsors used to say. So the gentleman that you played before, who was talking about where this is going to take us, and I have been saying I believe it's going to get worse before it gets better. And I agree, like Miss Anita, I may not see the outcome of this, but like Miss Crimson said, this is not sustainable. So unfortunately, the women that are shouting the loudest and howling at the moon, it's because that's all they can do. There is no other option. And I'm not trying to be a pessimist. I'm more of a realist. I had to come around to this. Mr. President used to tell me all the time, Maggie, some people just got to die. And I thought that was so harsh, when he would say that, but it's true. Some people, there is no other option for them, for the outcome that they actually want. Can you live your life and, contribute to society? Maybe. But he also used to say, this is going to require some type of Handmaid's Tale event. And I always used to think, man, you're always, the nuclear option. But we see it. That's what's happening. A man told me one time, feminism goes away 24 hours after the power grid goes down. So all this that people are talking about, it's first world problems. So for the young women that actually have an opportunity to have a meaningful life, listen and learn. All of us on the panel, I believe, are either Gen Xers or millennials. And if we are in happy relationships now, it's because we did the work years ago, maybe even decades ago, so that we can be in the position that we are now. So hear me well. This is not going to be something you're going to be able to flip the switch and people are going to take you seriously. If you want to age gracefully, if you want to look forward to the second half, which is very doable, you need to be putting things in place right now. And if you don't, know these celebrities and the people that are on the internet, look at your own family. Look at your mothers and your aunties and your boss babe, rich aunties and all of that. Watch them closely. Is that the life that you want to have? If so, follow what they do. But if you don't, if you want something different, you got a man, you got a husband, you got a family, hold on. Because even if the men come back the way women are pining for them too, which I don't think they should, you get one time in a row over here, the men are not going to come back with the same amount of grace that you had when you're in your prime. So all these older women with your list of 34 things that now a man has got to do, you have missed the mark. That his patience for you, his forgiveness, his acceptance, all the learning curve grace that you would have gotten when you were in your 20s, now you got to be ready right now. You're going to be out the door. And that's why they're reeling. That's why they're changing relationships like changing socks, because they don't know what to do. So, to close and to answer your prompt, are women turning on feminism? Absolutely, because it wasn't real and they didn't really believe it anyway. And unfortunately, some women are going to have to be made an example of, and it doesn't bring me any joy to say that, but we need to be able to watch someone else's outcome and say, I don't want that to be me. So what do I need to be doing right now so that when I am 50 or 58 or late 40s or whatever, I'm looking forward to the life that I've created because of the decisions that I've made.
All right, Crimson, why don't you close us out?
First and foremost, we walked all over the fact that Messi said Kendra Gilliam. So she said that woman whole government. And I had me crying over here. So that's number one. Now to get to the closing statement. Everybody can't go, right? And that is the sentiment that we have been expressing mostly on this panel tonight. That people are simply have to still face their consequences no matter what they say, whether they being genuine or not, things of that nature, blah, 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 which is true. But I don't want people to forget that the flip side of that coin is somebody is going. Somebody is going. So for the people who aren't gonna go, which is probably the majority, they won't. But we can't discount 100% of everybody because somebody's going to go. Somebody is because if we're here on the panel, then we have to understand that we're not the only people that think this way either. True. Regardless of what the majority is or what the popular stances are, we have to understand we're not the only individuals that have this mindset. And I'm saying that because just like Miss Maggie, I'm not so much a pessimist, but a realist. You got to think about things in a whole kind of way. It's a lot of people that's going to fall through the cracks and go by the wayside just because people are hard-headed a lot of times. People don't learn, you know what I'm saying? People feel how they want to feel. This is why I don't discount God, and even when people discount religion or however you want to say it, because again, in my opinion, this is how we ended up here, because we thought we could govern ourselves. We thought we could make a system that wasn't it was all in an effort to escape accountability. Everybody was trying to escape the accountability of God because that was too strict, supposedly. So then we decided as a group, as a human race, that we weren't going to do that. So we were going to do this, that, and the third, and try to make it easier, and then find a way of another system that was going to facilitate the outcomes that we wanted to do. And that has taken a lot of forms. The form we're talking about today was feminism. That took a form too. trying to get rid of accountability and do the stuff I want to do, we want to do, blah, blah, blah. Come to find out that it's inevitable. You have to come back to order. If you have been out of order, it's been out of order too long. So the pendulum always swings back. It always swings back. There's no such thing as the pendulum swing one way and stay. It never stays. Equilibrium, order, balance, always, things always come back to balance. Even if it has to have some kind of apocalyptic or catastrophic or heavy event to make it come back to balance, which is pretty much what we're seeing, because I don't think people understand the way in which this country is changing. We think it's going to go back to something we're familiar with, and it is not. I promise you it won't. It's going to keep changing into a landscape we have never seen, and we are not going to like that landscape at all. We're going to be trying to figure out how we got here, and it's going to be too late. So I'm not going to just preach, but I do want to say that I will never discount God, because the people who need God need him. They need the order and the accountability that it brings. That has been one of the biggest problems with people's concept of God, that because God is loving or forgiving, that he don't have accountability. He all about accountability. That's all it's ever about. If you read your Bible, if you read your Quran, it's all accountability, every last piece of it. In this world, and if you believe in the afterlife, accountability there too. So we never escape it. So I'll land it there. A lot of people ain't going, but there are people who are going, and we need to focus on that.
Yeah, I appreciate everybody and everything you had to say. And I appreciate that reminder that it's true that, you know, there are people that agree with us or do also see, maybe they're a little quieter than we would like. But, you know, I do think that there is a remnant and a quiet minority that is starting to wake up. And even that question of, are women starting to turn against feminism? I'm going to say yes. What that number is probably not as high as we would like. But I do think that that's starting to actually take effect. People are starting to really like read books. People are starting to actually go back through time and look and see and realize that this wasn't meant for families. This wasn't actually a healthy measure across the board, and a lot of different outcomes are suffering. So thank you, Clock, for HVAC for getting a 5. With Gen Z coming up, these women are in trouble. I mean, trouble men are starting to compartmentalize women now. Other things versus why. Oh, Lord. Full drink and a half. Cure, smoke them out, full press. Thank you for the 5. And then last but not least, Slim Daddy 9. Feminism will end many bloodlines. That's sad. And then Gracious, you just gave us our last one. Shout out to Jeff James and all the other top-notch panelists. Let me send you some foreign money. Hey, salute to all of you from across the pond. Feminism only works in the West. So everybody, thank you all for tuning in. We're going to wish you all a great day, great evening. Please make sure that y'all are subscribed to all of our platforms. Make sure y'all members of our channels if you haven't done so. Nobody charging $50 a month, unless, well, maybe Messi's, I don't know. But the rest of us, we ain't charging too high when it comes to our memberships. And we thank y'all genuinely for supporting us and supporting, you know, the work that we're doing. A lot of us have different projects and things that we're working on. So we appreciate your love and support. So please make sure that y'all share it with as many people as you can. And like Crimson said, at the end of the day, there are people that probably agree with us. And there maybe are some people that are willing to, but you all have to share it. The only way that we can get this out there is we put the content out and you all kind of share it on our behalf. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We hope that you enjoyed this conversation thoroughly. And real quick, ladies, I was talking to the guys at end of last week. How y'all feel about in the very near future is doing a joint panel with the men on some big hot topic? How you have the men's table? What y'all think? Y'all think we ready for that?
I'm there.
Okay, all right. I'll see. Listen, we'll see. I see different faces. So
You don't know. She don't know about all that. You know, check back with her in a little bit.
Okay, all right.
That's Mr. President.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, the guys were saying that they might be open to that. So I said I will run it by y'all. So you know, I'll do a little work behind the scenes to see if that's even an option or possibility, and see if everybody's schedules can get on one accord. But everybody have a good day and evening, and we'll see y'all on the other side. Peace.